Now here at Lexington Cemetery, I know you all were looking for some smaller trees, but this place has been around for such a long time, and most of what we're encountering right now are just these monster, really old and mature trees. I'd like to point this one out because we've got a problem going on here in central Kentucky with what's called the emerald ash borer. And that's an exotic insect that's moved in from Asia, and it is infecting and killing off ash trees all across the northeast United States. This is a gigantic blue ash. It's kind of hard to get any leaves off of this one, but believe me, it's an ash tree. Nice healthy root flare here. So this tree's been here a couple hundred years at least, maybe even 300 or 400 years. These were originally the trees that the buffalo would have been grazing under. It's kind of a grassland species. So originally this was probably more of a grassy type of area. We had trees like blue ash and bur oak and chinkapin oak. Those are some of our original native trees to the bigger, more wide open expanses. You can see in several different parts of the cemetery really huge bur oaks as well. I think we'll pass one here on our way back around. But blue ash is a really interesting tree. Was used by early settlers because there is like a blue pigment within the inner bark. So that's where it gets its name. It also has a very unique square stem. If we could find a stem, when you look at it, it's completely square, four-sided stem, which is really quite unusual. I don't know if you'll be able to tell that or not on that, but that's a really good way of identifying. This might be. Well, this one doesn't really show it that well. It's the younger ones that are really four-sided, most definitely. That gives you a clue to its Latin name. All of the ashes are fraxinus, and each different species has a different name. So because it's a four-sided square stem, it's called Fraxinus quadrangulata, which means the quad is four and the rest of it means four-sided. So it's kind of a neat ash tree. Hopefully, I'm not sure, we'll have to ask Miles whether or not some of these larger ashes are being treated, because they can, you can treat to preserve the trees against the emerald ash borer, but you have to treat every other year, depending upon what you're using, either every year or every other year, and we can ward off the disease or the insect for as long as you treat the trees. If you stop treating them, the trees are probably not going to make it. So be aware that if you have ash trees in your backyard, oops, did you find a four-sided? Oh, excellent. Okay, you can kind of get an idea of that. You can pass that around. That one's not quite as obvious, but you can get kind of the idea that it's a square stem. But you do need to treat your ash trees if you want to save them. We aren't recommending anybody planting any of the ashes, even though that was one of the most popular street trees back about 10, 15 years ago. Everyone was planting autumn purple ash, and there's a bunch of different species of green and white ashes that have been planted primarily all over the place, but they're all going to be goners if they're not treated for the emerald ash borer. So just be aware of that, and hopefully we'll still have some of these trees in the future. We'll have to find out if they're being treated here at the cemetery.
This one appears to be treated. It has a ring of little holes in it.
Okay. Well, and that is on a large tree like this, they'll actually go around and inject the chemical into that, and it just helps ward off the insect. So.
Miles said that they were treating some of them, and that there were big bottles around, like they were getting IVs when they're.
Okay. Well, then that might be some kind of a borer that we're seeing with the holes in it, because I can't really. You see?
And they look like they have a little.
Oh, a little plug. Yeah. Okay. So these have been treated then. There's so many ashes here, I'm sure they're not able to treat all of them because it's pretty expensive to do it, especially on an annual or biannual basis.